Great. Good. Oh, God. Hi, Sandy.
Hi.
Great to
Hi,
see
Andy.
you. I've been so looking forward to this.
Oh, I'm really excited, but I'm really nervous, as you know. So please bear with me, because you know what I'm like. I start rabbiting off into different directions. You're going to have to pull me back in.
But that's my problem as well, Sandy. So this could be an interesting hour, right? So we'll be fine. Hi, everybody. Thanks for those people that are able to join us on a Friday afternoon. I just wanted to make sure that we could get the amazing Sandy in ahead of the start of your summit that starts on Monday, the Canine Conference in Colour, which we'll talk about in a little bit, Sandy. But hi, everybody who's managed to join us live, and it's great to see you on a Friday afternoon. So, Sandy, we've known each other quite a while, really, and I see you as a very close friend and a good person to come in when I need it, and you've helped me out so many times when I've needed a bit of wisdom and a bit of kind counsel. So it's just nice that we can have one of our chats and have it shared with everybody else, because you're too good to keep to myself.
Oh, bless you. Do you know what, Andy? I think you're such an inspiration to me, because your kindness always has inspired me, and I just love you to pieces. You know I do. And you know I love Kieran as well, so I've got to mention Kieran because you know I love him too. But everything you do is done with such amazing soulfulness, and I think that's why we have this amazing connection, you and me, as well, because we just connect on a much higher level, and it's gone beyond just a friendship, because it is actual connection of the two souls. So yeah, for that I'm so grateful that I have you as my friend.
Well, yeah, I feel the same, and it's nice sometimes, especially some of the things that we both had our challenges over time, and it's just nice to have a safe anchor sometimes, just to have somebody to talk to, and everybody loves Kieran. He's the real deal. I'm a bit of a miserable git, to be honest, but he is the real deal, Kieran. If anybody ever who knows him, who's listening, who's met him in real life, he really is. He's everything he seems to be. So I'm very lucky to have him. All right, darling. Well, look, one of the things that is really special for us all, really, we all have our own uniqueness, but for you, especially, Sandy, is your journey through, the influence of your parents. I just, today's your father's birthday, and so it's great to kind of share this day with you. And I know how, the wisdom he imparted for you, and the influences on you regarding your connection to others, and especially your connection to animals, right? It was before you even knew about any of the stuff called dog training or this bizarre community that we all kind of trying to sit in professionally. You were already making these wonderful connections. So please share with us your story, your origin story, if you like.
So, as you said, I lost my dad a few years ago. I am a daddy's girl. I'll always be a daddy's girl. Sorry, I might get quite emotional. So I will be honest with you. If you see me crying, it's because I never hold my emotions in. That's something my dad always taught me. What can I say about my dad? Oh my goodness. He was the most kindest soul you could have ever met. I'll give you an example. I was actually born in Uganda, so I wasn't born in the UK, and my grandparents left from India, went to Uganda, settled there. My dad was born there, my mum and I was born there. My brother was actually born here. My dad worked for the British government. I'm not exactly sure what it was, but it was to do with helping with people and what have you. So that sort of job he had, and he would actually liaise with Idi Amin as well. So he knew Idi Amin very, very well. So much so that Idi Amin did ask my dad to stay behind, and my dad led him on so that he could get people out. We were one of the last families to leave, and my dad spent all of his money, sold stuff to get people onto planes and out of there. The community I was brought up in was the global majority people. as well as we had, I'm going to say uncles because we have uncles and aunties. But so for us, everyone's an uncle or an auntie.
Yeah, same
So,
for me when I was growing up. I love that. It's nice. Yeah.
So, so for me, I had, British uncle and aunties. I had, aunties and uncles that were from Pakistan, from Ugandans that were actually there as well. Everything that you could think of as a community, that's how I was brought up. So it wasn't as though I couldn't go to someone's house and I would be treated differently because they treated me as their daughter. That's how I just didn't have my dad. I had all my uncles looking after me, my aunties. So it was just heaven on earth. That's how my mum and dad talked about Uganda as well to anyone. They would say it was heaven on earth. The community was a true community. Growing up, my grandparents and my grandparents, all the generations down, we were farmers. So we always had a connection with Mother Earth. We always had different animals, but we always had a very strong connection with dogs. And my grandmother had horses. So her connection was horses and dogs. Whereas my dad had a very, very amazing upbringing himself, and my mum, where I think my grandparents passed on knowledge to them that was then passed on to me. So basically it was, prime example, my mum got told off by my grandmother once because she forgot to feed the dogs first, because she fed the children first. So she didn't feed the dogs, and my grandmother really told my mum off for that. The reason behind it is once my grandmother calmed down and sort of sat my mum down and said, the dogs can't say we are hungry, the children can. So you always make sure that the soul that can't tell you what they need, you make sure you serve them first before you serve someone who can explain to you. It's these lessons that were passed down to me. So for me, when I saw these theories of you have to eat before dogs and stuff like that, I was horrified. I was like, what? Are you joking? That just doesn't sit with me at all, and never would. So that's the sort of upbringing I've had. My parents, and especially my dad. So as a child, I'm going to call myself the feral child, because my dad actually said, before you learnt Punjabi, because my mother tongue is Punjabi, you actually learnt how to communicate with souls. Because my sister was a GSD puppy who was 6 weeks old when I was a day old. And everywhere I went, she went. The whole house, so we had dogs that lived outside because they chose to live outside, and we had dogs that lived inside. But in our household, we had 5 German Shepherds, 4 Rhodesian Ridgebacks, 1 Lab, 2 Daxies, and a pigeon. That was how I grew up. I grew up connecting. So my mum would try and stop me when I was crawling to follow Puppy around. So wherever she was, I was. My mum would try and stop me and pull me back. And my grandmother would just say, just leave her. Just let her do. She knows what she's doing. They're communicating. Just let them be. So that's where I feel when I connected, it was something that naturally happened, that I couldn't speak, and obviously Poppy couldn't speak, but we were always being able to communicate with each other.
And I think isn't that, well, so many beautiful things there from there. And I love this notion of kind of almost like a hierarchy of vulnerability that your nan was really aware of. We think of the most vulnerable first, and then we work our way through. I think that's really beautiful. And being in an environment where I think it's really relevant, this notion of being so connected to Mother Nature and the land and the process of things, of how life goes through and the cycles. And And I think being a very young child, and especially when you were non-verbal, and then being with the dogs and being treated as equals within that situation, what a great thing for your spirit to stay connected. I think so many of us, I include myself in this, we're kind of at an early age just kind of ripped out of that. You know, we're kind of forced into some kind of conformist notion of what it is to be doing things, and especially with our modern day lives, you know. So what a beautiful and very rich start that was for you then. And I can see how this really filters through to how you look at connections, and even being in that really diverse community. I think it's really fascinating hearing about your father there. Wow, what a guy, right? I mean, he really took that notion of, I need to support others before myself. He took that literally, with what he did physically.
Yeah, I mean, when we left Uganda, we left in the middle of the night. It was, so I can remember bits because I was 3 years old, and the most I can remember is, and even now, that pain I feel in my heart is, and I can visually see it. I kept saying to my mum, "Where's Poppy? Where's Poppy?" So what my dad did, because he was so closely connected to Idi Amin, he knew Idi Amin would take it out on the animals. So my dad had made sure all the dogs had gone outside of Uganda to homes that had money to make sure that the dogs would never want, and to people that my dad trusted. Because obviously we couldn't bring them on the plane. But explain that to a 3-year-old child. You've lost your sister. So that to me is a pain that I've had in my heart. Like I still feel that pain because I carry that with me. And it makes me quite emotional thinking about it now. But for me, it was literally, like you said, I was at that point ripped away from her. And that really hurts as well. But what she taught me in the time that I had with her is the dogs we have, how much they give us without us realizing, what they pass down to us, the knowledge they have. So we don't tend to realize that they actually know better than we do. Their instincts, they will tell you what they need. And when a dog feels totally safe, they will show you their emotions. They will be able to release those emotions. It's that. So obviously last year I lost Coco Puppy, who was named after Poppy. That's why she had a dog, because her character was so similar to my original puppy. That's why I double named her. When I lost her, I knew before the vet made that phone call, I knew the week when I saw her start to limp, I knew she had cancer of the bone. Obviously, we all, I think, know that of our dogs. We know when our dogs aren't well. We don't always need a vet to actually say, this is the diagnosis. You instantly or instinctively, know when your dog's not well, because they connect with you. They tell you. Sorry, Andy.
That's all right, darling. That's all right. Well, I think this is the thing about something you and I have discussed before, because we've both had a bit of a weep and a cry on some of our private conversations, and that's what I really value about the space that you provide, because we have to feel, don't we? And we have to sit with that, and we have to feel it. We can't just keep pushing those things away. And I love what you said there about if we let them, dogs will. They've got so much to tell us if we let them.
Yeah.
And actually, it's the same with us as human beings, right? I think some of the things that you and I have discussed recently about how people can take things the wrong way, or not see a connection that was already there, that's because they've ended up being in an elevated state themselves. You know, if that nervous system kind of takes over, it's hard to be connected. And this is what I love about your heart connected approach, where, and I love whenever you say it to me and I can see you. But the thing is, I've seen you do it so many times now that even if I'm on the phone to you, I know you're doing it, because you literally put that hand on your heart as you say it, right? Because that's what it's about. So let's talk about this then, and let's just talk about these things, because it's important. And I love this philosophy that you have. Tell us a bit about what this means for you, this heart-connected approach to both your work and how you live your life.
Right. So for me, your heart is where your soul is. So whenever you feel joy or pain, that's where your heart, that's where your soul is. So your heart never grows old. Your heart is that of when you were a child. So it doesn't know fear, doesn't know being worried or scared or anxious or anything. It's where it's pure. Whereas your mind is where you start analysing. So if you drop into your heart, you can't go wrong. That's how I feel. And for me, the way I approach my training, I don't go there and say, yes, I can solve this problem. I actually go there and I'll let the person open up, because part of dog training is listening. And that's the error we make. We don't listen because we don't give people the chance to open. Once they open up, you're going to be able to see so much more than just teaching that dog to settle on a mat. You know, it's understanding what is it that that dog needs right now to make that dog feel safe. And part of that journey is listening to what the owners have to say. Because without realizing, I think, I'm not sure how this has come about, if I'm honest, but it's almost gone to where our dogs can't show their true emotions because it has to be related to something. You know, if something happens, it's got to be because of something, and we're straight on it. Oh, you know, I've got to go make sure my dog's okay. Actually, no, because you think of the time how sometimes you just want 5 minutes out, 10 minutes out, 20 minutes out, whatever it is, you just want to be left alone, to be able to maybe think of what's happened, digest it, and then bring that to the surface. I feel we've gone from doing things of when dogs were allowed to be dogs to almost not letting them breathe without us jumping, going, oh my God, you know, he's yawned, that, you know, they're worried. I've got to go over there. And I think it then has the opposite effect. Your dog doesn't feel safe with you then. They don't feel safe to be able to express because they're worried that you're going to be worried. So, hey, I can't show this because mum's going to be really scared. So I better not do this. And then you end up with more issues. Because the more you suppress, eventually all of it has to come out. Hence why my dad, as a young child, always taught me, and my brother, you express what you're feeling. If you want to cry, you cry. If you want to laugh, you laugh. But you don't hold whatever you're feeling in, because all that does is it cuts away into you. And that's the same with dogs, because they almost don't then feel safe enough to release whatever it is, because we're there watching. Does that sort of make sense? Or
well, no, it just really makes sense. And I think a lot of people listening it will really resonate for them, because this isn't just a dog story, it's a human story for us. Because somewhere along the line, and there's all sorts of things, I've got my own thoughts on it, but the reality is, though, society is a wider construct, especially the kind of political notion of it. Emotions kind of get in the way, right? So many of us, as soon as we hit any kind of structured educational system, we're having that side of us, you know, boys should act like this, girls should act like this. These are the kind of things you should be doing, shouldn't be doing. These are what you're allowed to express, what you shouldn't really express, and all this kind of thing. And it creates dysfunction. And I did a webinar recently with the amazing Laura Donaldson and Holly Tett. And we kind of came to this conclusion that actually, when we think about freedom for our dogs, part of that is freedom from our dysfunction. Because it's true. And this is important, right? Because you and I have discussed before about behavior as an expression of self, even something as fundamental as that. And we can end up with somebody who is very much looking at their dog through a compliance kind of obedience lens. Very difficult to kind of get self. But even if somebody really is aware of dog body language, and this is what you're alluding to here, we can't just see all these little signs and think, oh my God, my dog's stressed, oh my God, my dog's stressed, we've got to try and do stuff. We can't have this notion, you talked about it off air, about wrapping them up in cotton wool. We've just got to let the dog be sometimes, and let them go through a process of dealing with some things. This isn't the same as just standing back and letting them not cope, which is, I know, something that people say. It is this kind of thing about very different. And this must have been a bit of a shock then for you, because on the one hand, we have like little young girl Sandy, who is very much about being, and that can be being sad sometimes, it can be being happy sometimes, and being with dogs and animals around you in the same place, to then shifting and having that, like you say, being torn away really from this. It sounds very idyllic, and I'm sure there were some challenges, but it sounds, the way you paint it, obviously, and how you feel about it was very much there. To come to a situation where suddenly the society around you sees animals as somehow subservient and without voice. And indeed, in a society where other members of society, whether that's ethnic minorities, whether any minority really, although having said that, women are not a minority, Sandy, but we still ended up within our society of a women should be seen and not heard, which is gradually shifting. So that must have been very difficult, that transition. Tell me about that.
So for me, I think I was that annoying child that would always say, yeah, but you're not listening to your dog, or why are you doing that to the cat? Because I was quite, and still am, a chatty child. That was my nickname from one of my uncles. He called me Chatterbox, because it was like, she does not shut up. So that's going to be it. But my parents always encouraged me to speak up and not lose my voice. But they also encouraged me to listen. So in sort of roundabout like the 70s, as you know, people would open their door and dogs would go out. And they would wander off around or whatever, and then they would let them back in after so many times. When people can sometimes not understand what that dog is trying to say, that's to me is the most painful thing. So even though I'm a dog trainer, I don't look at it as in, I need to teach this dog to sit, or I need this dog to do that. I look at it as in, how can I help you form that relationship? Because relationship and a bond always have to come before anything. If you haven't got that, and that I think as a child is what, for me, I was trying to say to people. But in my way, I was like, why are you doing this to this dog? Why are you doing that? And maybe I wasn't able to explain it. But for me, I think coming here, it was almost like, for example, I'll give you another reason. So obviously, my parents knew they would have to get a dog, because whenever they asked, what would you like? You knew what I was going to say. They knew. My dad was working somewhere, and he had a friend who had a rough collie who looked just like Lassie, exactly like Lassie. Difference was he was reactive to everything. And my dad would then get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to take him into the field so he could have a run around. And he would do that every day. And slowly my dad started what we call now enrichment. but he would bring in different smells, different things. You know, he would find maybe somebody had brushed their dog and he would bring that hair back home so that he could smell it. And he started doing his own little program, and he would get me to make things like with him, because my dad was very, very much into how do we help him realize he's safe and he doesn't need to do this. Prince stayed with us for 14 years. And again, he taught me so much. He was more my brother's dog than mine, I will be honest. But that was because my brother was smaller and they had that bond that I had with Poppy. So wherever my brother was, Prince was. And wherever Prince was, my brother was. Even to the point my brother would try and eat the dog food. And now when I say dog food, my dad was horrified when we came in this country to find tins and biscuits, because we always gave raw food. So you could imagine a child trying to eat raw meat, and my mum would be like, oh my God, I've got to grab the child. So, yeah. But, you know, my mum didn't kill us. She was actually a really good mum, but she just let us be. So if we were playing in the dirt, she laid it, you know, that's what we did. You know, it's that connection when you actually pick up earth, and you see dogs digging sometimes, yeah. So some of it is, yes, it is behavioural. But sometimes if you actually dig at the dirt yourself, you will feel this connection with earth. And that smell, it releases different odours as you dig deeper. I don't know if you've ever noticed that.
I think it's the same when you see young kids, really small little kids, just playing in the dirt or playing in the sand. I think this sounds a bit Yodery, because of course we're both big Star Wars fans. But somebody actually said this, and I can't remember who it is. So if anybody does know, put it in the chat. But somebody said, and they weren't a dog trainer or something, there was somebody more wiser than us dog trainers. There is no behaviour. There is, what was it? There is no behaviour, just doing, or something like that. Because for the individual, we talk about behaviour all the time, and like I said there about not being behavioural. Nobody thinks in those terms when you just do, right? You just do, and it's sometimes it's because you're very elevated. Same for a dog, I'm sure, and sometimes it's just because, right? And that's the beautiful thing about observing dogs doing that.
Yeah,
just digging.
It's when they feel safe as well. So when a dog feels safe, they will show you so much, because they've got so much to give to us. And it's where we sometimes, our intentions are good, but we stop listening. And that's where I feel that sometimes people don't, that, you know, their intention is to make sure that their dog is absolutely fine, but they've done it so much that that dog actually feels even more suffocated and is like, oh God, help, sort of thing.
I think that's a really powerful thing you said there. That kind of heart, for want of a better word, is in the right place, but somehow we stopped listening. And I think we can look at that in a lot of our connections, actually, because as they say, that the path to coercion is often laid with good intention. So me thinking, I know what's best for Sandy. If Sandy does this, this, and this, she'll feel okay, she'll feel safe. And that's because I love you and care for you, and I want the best for you. But guess what? Didn't ask you. Didn't ask you, or didn't give you a chance to let me know. And I think that's the same in many of our relationships, but especially with our dogs. You know, this notion of safety, as the wonderful Rachel Leather says, you know, you can't create safety, you can't teach safety, you have to feel safe.
And it comes from here. It comes from here. I mean, I do this with my own dogs. I do it with my clients' dogs, but I won't put my other hand to them, because I feel I'm invading their space until they're ready for me to do that. So when I'm doing my heart connection, so like when we've spoken, or if I think, you know, one of my dogs actually wants to connect with me. So it's normally Nico. I mean, he was jumping around before, but he'll
make an appearance in a minute.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be like, oh, Mum, I'll come and say hi to everyone now. It's a way of where you don't think of anything. You absolutely clear your mind and you sit in silence, because silence is so beautiful. You get so much knowledge in silence. And if you actually connect to your heart and you connect your palm to your dog, if your dog allows you to do that. Now, if your dog doesn't like that, you can keep your distance, you can keep your hand safely away, because it will still reflect. And it's that connection. You're actually connecting, because you're letting your heart travel down your heart, down to your hand, to your palm, so your energy is reflected onto that being, and theirs is coming up to yours. So it's a two-way thing. And I know some people are going to go, oh God, what's she talking about? But it actually, if you try it, it works. It's a bit like, for me, these are the things that culturally I have been taught from my grandmother, because, you know, she could, and my mum can read Sanskrit. I can't, but my grandmother and my mum can. And it's all different ways of how you can. So people used to laugh at Prince Charles for talking to plants, but now we realize, you know, and my dad used to have full-blown conversations with plants. So, you know, it's that connection, like how much a tree can actually feel you. Or one of the things that Coco taught me, my Coco puppy taught me, was moonbathing. You know, she loved moonbathing. And it's all these things that we have around us that we can bring to, or our dogs bring to us, sorry, rather than we bring it to them, because they will show you what they need. So when dogs self-select on herbs, they're telling you, this is what my body needs. This is what I need to help me heal. Or this isn't what I need, because they're refusing or they're walking away. But they will teach us so much if we listen and let them be. So, you know, I mean, obviously safety always has to come into it, because I'm always like, safety, you know, is always first. But letting dogs just be dogs is something we have changed a lot here. So, and I'm not going to, this isn't having a go at doggy daycares or dog walkers or anything like that, because I know some amazing doggy daycares, I know some amazing dog walkers, but what I see in the parks concerns me. Dogs were never like that. When we look at the streeties, they aren't like that. That's dogs being dogs. Yeah. Or we'll rescue a dog from abroad and then we put them in our house and that dog gets freaked out. So about 7 years ago, I had an amazing client come to me. She'd got a dog from Greece, and the dog came over, and I met the dog the same time as they did. And she was just shaking, and she was shaking because she was in the house. And I was like, can we just open the door for her, please, so she can choose where she wants to go? And they did it, and she went straight outside. Once she was outside, it was almost like she was like, oh, I can breathe. What we forget is, as much as we think we're rescuing the dog, if we're not looking at where that dog's from, are we giving that dog the right choice? So my clients actually slept in their garage for a week while she slept in the garden, so that they could connect with her, for her to feel safe.
It's so beautiful, isn't it? To hear that, it really kind of affirms our sense of, you know, what we can be as humans sometimes, you know.
Yeah. And it's realizing, what are we doing in this country? You know, dogs are like, the ways that they're sold, the way they're, you know, treated, it rips my heart out. It really does. And I think the one thing that we're doing is that we're pushing them into something that we've done with our own human society. We're pushing them, you've got to go and play with that bunch of dogs. You've got to be accepting. And that isn't correct either, in my opinion.
Well, this is what we looked at on my workshop, of course, which you came along to, and you all these wonderful contributions that you gave to that workshop, looking at there's a bigger picture here about how we're all kind of indoctrinated into this notion of good and bad, that good and bad continuum, as we call it in human psychology, and the fallout from that is huge, because it depends on who's deciding what is appropriate, what isn't appropriate, how you should be. When you think about these poor dogs, especially these dogs who come in, like I say, the dogs that come in from abroad quite often, they are literally neurologically wired differently. There's a huge amount of stuff that they've got to try and process just to even be able to do anything else, let alone all the things that we expect of them on top of that side of things. I think, and you mentioned it a little while. I didn't want to stop you at the time because I just love it when you how you kind of relay your wonderful wisdom, as I see it, really, because it is. But you said this thing about the knowledge we get from silence.
Yes.
And that really, again, that's just awesome. And we've got to start putting some t-shirts out, Sandy. Oh my God, these are just too good to not have on t-shirts. But this is the notion really of what you and I and lots of other people are talking about, with looking at things through a different lens, looking at things about that individual dog, is giving ourselves the time to not do, to just be present and to do those good observations and see what that gives us, rather than, and that silence isn't just from not saying anything, it's allowing our brain not to be clattering about as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a way that when you start communicating, you get so much back from your dogs, because they can then truly be themselves, because you're not jumping on them. Oh God, yeah, he's yawned, or he's lifting his paw or something, and you're there. It's a way that I feel. So when I say to people, my dogs have choices, they truly do. They tell me if they want to go out. I mean, I'll give you an example of, like, in Coco's last week, her way of telling me when she wanted to go out as in, let's go outside for a walk, mum, she would go and stand by the baby gate. If she wanted to go out the front door, obviously she would go there, but she would just get up at whatever time she wanted. So be that, as long as it wasn't too dark, then yes, we would. Otherwise it would be like, I know you want it now, but we'll have to do it in the morning. She would maybe get up at 8:30 and go and stand there. And I knew she's saying to me she wants to go actually for a little poodle around the corner or something. So when we give the chance for our dogs to actually speak to us, they will do if you listen. It's when we stop listening and we start presuming that's, I feel, is the issue.
And we stop listening to our own selves, haven't we? Because like we were talking about earlier, this notion of allowing emotions to come out, allowing ourselves to sit with things, even the more unpleasant things. And there's a bigger lesson here. I think, I'm sure you find it yourself. A lot of my clients that I work with, it ends up not being about the dog, actually. It's about themselves and just being more open and being more present. And I don't know about you, but I can't remember maybe ever having a client that I've turned up and I've asked them to do more. Invariably, I'm trying to persuade them to do less.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's almost like we have this, like, you've got a puppy. You've got to socialize the puppy by this. You've got to teach the puppy to do this. You've got to teach the puppy to do that. In all of this, where is I get to know my puppy gets to know me. We build a relationship. We build a bond. We have trust. We start to understand each other's personalities. We find out what do they like, what don't they like before you even take them out. it's like we're in such a rush to get everything done and ticked off, because you know, you're thinking, oh my God, I've got to get this done by this, and the dog's got to be able to do this and must be able to do that. It isn't. I mean, for me, it's always about build your relationship, build that bond, build that trust, because once you have that, then that's when you're able to then move on to some form of training. And always, like, you know, it's always going to be at the dog's pace. And for me, I'm so happy that people now realize that it's not always great to teach a dog to sit.
Yeah, and this is, well, that's it. And I think, you know, what's so wonderful about maybe this is modern technology that is helping us, I guess, but I think there's definitely been a shift in the last couple of years of more spaces. Obviously, we're in dog centre care now, which is one, but there are others where people can start to question some of this perceived wisdom stuff that we just kind of see as being in some kind of fixed text, that's it. Yeah. Now we think, well, maybe that isn't it. And it's actually not about thinking of anything new, I feel. It's about reconnecting to what we've lost.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, because we're in such a rush to get to the end of that journey that we actually lose out on actually being on that journey. That's what I feel.
I agree, and all the richness that journey brings. Yeah.
Because when you've got a little puppy, I mean, they're not going to stay a puppy forever, but you're going to miss out because you're too worried about, oh God, yeah, they're going to be a teenager in this month, or they're going to be an adult, so I've got to, and you're so far ahead that you forget to be in the moment. And that's another thing that they teach us: stay in the moment. You don't know if you're going to get the next moment. Stay in this one, enjoy it, appreciate everything you have now. And I think that's where, like you said, we've become this rush.
Well, I think it definitely here, especially here in the UK and I guess Western countries more widely, I don't know, I can't speak for any other country, but over the last 30, 40 years, we've been kind of sucked into this overly consumeristic, capitalistic thing. We've disconnected ourselves hugely from Mother Nature, actually, because even growing up in the 70s, we had like the milkman would come around, the local farmer would come around with the vegetable tree. At least you had a connection somehow, but now it's all been kind of sanitized, and many people recognize that and they feel, well, how do I reconnect? Well, if you've got a dog, just look over in the dog bed, because that's your chance actually to find that reconnection if we allow it. And it's like Kim Brophy said in her amazingly powerful TED talk about how that capitalistic outlook just jumped onto our ownership of dogs. How do we make money out of this? How do we make money out of that? And of course, our dog training community was part of that. This kind of push of the most important thing is to have an obedient dog. Yeah. And then we've broken that connection a little bit. Right, how are we doing? Oh my God, so we're whizzing by here. We could just talk about this forever, really. And looking at some of the things in the group, thank you everybody for your messages. But it's just amazing, right? It's really resonating with everybody. And in fact, Mary says this is among the best of the most dog-centered live chats we've had, isn't it? Which is
wow, thank you.
So thank you for that, Mary. As I knew of it, I think this is really important because what we just talked about there, about it being about almost reconnecting back, not creating something new. I think that's a message for all of us, really. I think we've just become so polarized. There's a lot of things, and also what I love about your message is not about this above this. It's about, let's just find that space where we can be the same and be in that space and share it. And that is very much part of the ideology behind the Canine Conference in Colour, this summit that you and Rachel Forday have put together, looking at supporting people from a broader, diverse background to have an opportunity to talk and communicate and to educate on an even platform. This is what's so lovely about it, I think. So tell us, because I didn't want to not have enough time, but we could carry on talking about the other thing. I know about where the kind of seed came from for this, and what it is you're hoping to do with the summit, and what is actually going to be coming up for the summit.
Okay, so I am a sort of person that sometimes I will have a very vivid dream, and so by my bedside table I have a pen, well, a pencil and a little notepad. And if I have a dream, I will quickly, because sometimes you wake up, don't you? You get that jolt and you're awake, and then I will quickly write down whatever it is. For me, that's where this came from. And the reason I think when I have vivid dreams is because I'm worrying about something, or something is bothering me. And it's my soul telling my brain, pay attention. This is where you need to concentrate. This is what you're not listening to yourself. Because even though I say listen, I'm guilty of not listening to sometimes, because we are human. Through various avenues, so obviously I was in banking before I decided to go full term into dog training, and being a person of the global majority, I have gone through a lot of racial hatred towards me through various avenues, but that's something I don't want to go into too much detail, because I know we're going to run out of time and what have you, but it is something important that I do explain why this conference is so important.
We need to go over, Sandy, so please just share however you want to share. Okay, it's important.
Oh, bless you. Thank you. There's a lot of lack of opportunities, education, support, being able to talk and to be heard, and there's always going to be and yeah. The one thing my dad taught me is, if you want to bring change, don't wait for someone else to do it, step up. So this is me stepping up and asking Rachel to help, and also having an amazing admin team as well to come and help us on this journey. It's going to be conferences that will happen every season, and then in January I have something planned that will again be the first, but I will come back to you on that nearer the time, because I'm jumping ahead and I don't want to jump ahead. I want to come back to this moment. The conference is people that maybe have never had the chance to come and speak and show their amazing talent, because they're outstanding talent that they have, their niches that they have, and they've never had that opportunity. And the reason being is because they are a person of the global majority. So to bring diversity, because my two passions, as you know, Andy, are dogs and bringing diversity. I can sit here and not do anything, or I can say, right, okay, this is what I dreamt. I dreamt of doing a conference. So what's stopping me? And believe me, I did get scared, because this conference got delayed quite a few times. You can ask Rachel, because it was me. I panicked and I was like, oh my God, I can't do this. Am I doing the right thing? And she let me go on my little journey until I went, nope, that's it. We're doing it now. We have we have speakers from Monday to Friday. And then we have something called roundtable chats, where we ended up doing 2 days filming. The roundtable chats are where we open our hearts fully. There will be trigger warnings. We will put that up. But to me, that part of the conference is the most important part, because you actually have people who have never been able to speak of what they've gone through and never felt safe enough to open up. So for me, it's really important to bring that and show that to people and say, okay, this is how we feel. This is what's happened. How do we move forward? I'll give you an example. I wrote to about 30 organisations and I've only had 5 donations so far. And that's quite upsetting. But the positive is 5 is better than 0. And the amazing people that have donated are, you know, 3 of them are actual friends who were just like, yep, whatever you need, you've got it. And the other one was somebody who I'd never met and actually went, oh my God, I love this. I definitely want to get involved. It's going to be explosive, but in the right way. Our messages are from our hearts. We ask you to open your heart. And when you open your heart, you actually raise your vibration. And when I say you raise your vibration, it's because you're letting yourselves be vulnerable and you're letting people in and you're asking people to see beyond the colour of your skin and to open themselves up to what we go through, because it is a battle. I'm not going to lie. I could try and sugarcoat it and say it's not difficult. It's extremely difficult.
And I think this is why you're such a great person to kind of to do this, because you know, passions can get very high, and in sometimes people think that the way to raise ourselves up is to bring others down, and that is not your philosophy at all. And it is this notion of awareness and having those safe spaces to talk to. I'm a gay man, as you know. Some people may not know, but although we did talk about my husband at the beginning, so I kind of gave it away, I suppose. But I get a lot of, I have done actually, more so in this last 12 months, I think, from gay, lesbian, and especially trans trainers who have just reached out and they've heard me talking, heard me mention my husband, for example. And actually, it's something you and I've talked about before. It's about that representation. It's a thinking, oh, that guy talked about his husband. Yeah, maybe we can talk about that then. And I think that's a big part of this, part of the kind of the philosophy, the ethos behind the summit, isn't it? It's having positive representation. So, and I think the important thing is the positive bit. I think it's that notion of being able to feel safe to talk, and also for those who aren't part of that global majority to feel safe to ask questions. I think that's important.
I think it's very important to ask questions, but I think the most important thing is to actually listen. That you know, it's great that you want to ask questions, but we're not heard. So that's why, by making ourselves totally vulnerable, I mean, the 2 conversations go in 2 different directions, but they're equally as powerful. And I came away from both of those round table chats with so much different knowledge I gained, experiences that I took on, because I was open to everything everyone was saying and I listened. It's when we stop listening, that's the problem. And not just for our dogs, but for anyone, but especially when continuously you are judged because of the colour of your skin, you're not represented in different places because of the colour of your skin, or there is no one else on a board because, you know, and it's easy to say, yes, we're going to change this, but they've been saying this for a long time. And it's like, now's the time to bring that change, because there is. And if you look on the group, I mean, I've been blown away of how quickly that group has grown, but it shows how much this is needed.
Yeah.
And like I said, I truly hope everyone comes with an open heart and listens. Before you ask the question, listen, because the answer is already going to be before you've even asked it.
Sure, and I think the thing is that there is wider topics that need to be looked at and addressed, and then there is also the individual story of that individual, and there is a little bit of within the community, the dog training community, sometimes a little bit of competitive trauma, as I call it, without actually, seeing trauma as a competition almost, rather than actually thinking everybody's story is valid and everybody's story needs to be heard. And it's not just about listening, it's about being heard, isn't it? I think this is the thing about hearing what it is that's actually being said.
Yeah, and it's listening. It's when we don't listen, and when we judge someone before they've even finished their sentence, or you judge someone because of the way they look, that's where we have it with people, we have it with dogs. The dog looks in a certain way. I mean, I have a client recently who's come to me with the dog's ears are cropped, and I got back in my car and I sobbed, but they didn't realize what they'd done wasn't the right thing. They didn't do it here. The dog was actually cropped abroad and brought here. But we're so compassionate with our dogs, but yet we don't do that to our fellow human beings. And that's what we're asking for a change for us is, we want to be representative more. We want to be seen more. We want to be heard. And this is our way of showing you that we're making ourselves totally vulnerable here. Some of the stories, I mean, as you know, Andy, I do wear my heart on my sleeve, because I will cry if somebody tells me something, and if it catches my emotion, and the tears will flow. And there is one particular moment that when one of the speakers talks about something, all of them, all of their experiences, everything, it's magical, it's heart-wrenching, it's what's needed, because we want people to listen and we want people to help us to change, and that can only come from love, because love is always the answer, as I always say.
Well, it's what connects us, as you say, and I think I know Rachel Forday has been really instrumental in making this happen.
She's amazing. I mean, without Rachel, this conference would have stayed a dream. She's, she's tech queen. She's made sure that everything runs smoothly. She's so supportive when I'm crumbling to pieces. She's there, So yeah, we're a team. We and I think we both complement each other as well. So yeah.
But I think that's important, and the best partnerships have that, don't they? Because we give to each other what we don't have, and support each other. But I think it's amazing. There's definitely a Sandy vibe to this. That's how I feel about it, which is a great thing, of course. And there's some great speakers. Do you want to go through the speakers you've got for the week?
Yes. So we've got Tony Easton starting on Monday doing trick training.
And then this is 7 till 8 every day, isn't it?
Yeah, 7 till. So it's just one presentation per day, because we didn't want to overwhelm people. So we just decided to do one per day. So Monday starts off with Tony. Then we've got Michael on Tuesday. Wednesday, I think, is Hannah, who's doing nose work with cats.
Great.
Then we've got Dr. Maori Kerr doing resource guarding. And then we've got Sindor doing streeties.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, what a great lineup. And I think, from my point of view, it's great because, from thinking about speaker, Dog Centre Care isn't a dog training group. So already on I'm kind of already limiting who I might have speak, I guess. But just seeing the lineup for this group, I know Sindor well. She's come and spoken in the group, and I know Michael, but I haven't heard of the other three, and then they're now on my radar, and I'm thinking, wow. And I'm really going to be interested to hear about what they have to say, and and then see if they want to come and chat in the group. This is the kind of cross-pollination that comes from this, because a lot of it is ignorance. Actually, I try and be positive about things. I think that there is some overt racism in every community. I think a lot of it is just lack of awareness and not allowing ourselves to grow and educate ourselves better about what it is that we might be saying or doing.
Yeah, some of it is also to do with fear as well, because they're scared that the brown trainer might sort of like be better. But it's not about being better. It's about, once we share knowledge, I mean, if you pass away, so my dad shared everything with me and my brother, everything he could to help us grow in our lives. Everything I have in my brain, if I don't share that, that goes with me the day I leave this earth. So sharing your knowledge is such a powerful thing to do, because you leave that and you're going to be able to help other dogs or other people. And again, it comes from, because when you think about your heart actually tells you that it wants to share. It's continuously reminding you of that. And I think in our industry, it's more, let's pull trainers up and not push them down.
And we need to keep that philosophy, I think. And also, we've lost the old days of I know the kind of very old days of sitting around that campfire, but even the kind of notion of being in the pub or sharing stories, we detached ourselves from that.
Spirit.
Yeah. What was your father's name, darling?
My dad's name was Sandy Sharma.
Well, happy birthday to your dad, and thank you, because we wouldn't have had you otherwise.
Oh,
your mother, of course, but that's important. Well, it's been an amazing hour, Sandy. I knew it would be, and the
oh my God, is it an hour?
It has. In fact, we're over that, but it doesn't matter. But just to let everybody know, then we'll share some things in the thread. We're also going to share some things in the group and try and get that group growing from our wonderful members over here in Dog Centre Care. And I think it's just, a lot of people come to me for support. It's just the way things happen, right? But you're one of the few safe spaces that I've found that I can go to for support, and it's really lovely to have had you in my corner, Sandy, because it's been tough 12 months one way or another. So I just really thank you for that. But anything you'd like to say before we finish?
The answer is always love.
Well, that's powerful, and that's definitely another t-shirt right there. The answer is always love, and I think it's a good place to start, right?
Perfect place to start.
Oh, good place to start. We've had amazing comments in the group, Sandy, and
I'll jump on and have a look at those. Thank you.
Have a look. And especially especially on a Friday afternoon, we've done really well, and it's important that we share this chat, because I think there's a lot for people to take from it. And this is the thing, if we can't be more diverse in our support, then we're limiting other people's voices. I think this is really important, and there's a richness there that we need to try and kind of tap into. Well, amazing, thank you so much. So the Canine Conference in Colour, there's a Facebook group, try and find it. We'll make sure we put the links in here. There's a chat every night next week with those wonderful people that you talked about, and then there's the round table chats, which sound to be the big powerful thing there as well for people to listen to. Well, I love you so much, and thank you so much for today, Sandy.
Love you. Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your Friday and have a great weekend, and see you soon.